Hello and welcome to the MHR podcast. I'm Andy.
I'm Alice.
Alice, last week we talked about stress. It was a good conversation though, I thought.
It was, yeah, we're quite chatty.
Do you feel less stressed now we've had that chat?
Oh, I'm zen.
Good. Well, I thought we could bring in a bit of a practice now. I thought let's embrace having a bit of a casual beverage while we're doing the podcast. So you've got your cup of tea. I've got a mug of coffee here and a very ugly mug that makes me very happy. I thought we should take a lesson.
That.
It's not. It's a ceramic mug rather than a facial mug. So yeah, I felt we could learn a lot, and actually, it nicely leans into what we're going to talk about this week, as I'm sure a lot of people in the HR, payroll, any form of work community may be aware that this week is Mental Health Awareness Week for 2024.
Yes.
We've covered a lot about it actually at MHR, which has been really nice to see, and I've learnt a lot. But what are your thoughts, Alice? Have you any observations you've made this week?
Well, I think it's good that every year we have a full week dedicated to mental health awareness. But it's been an interesting one. The topic this year, I think, is something to do with kind of moving for our mental health has been named. Yeah. So what I've quite enjoyed actually this week is seeing ways that people have been moving for their mental health. So things like my social feeds, if I go onto LinkedIn, it's full of people sharing. So I see a lot of pets, kind of dogs being walked, friends catching up, people on top of mountains. They always like to climb the highest mountain, don't they?
Yeah.
Just to show off.
I'm here for that. So I think that's one of the things I've taken away from my mental health. Is I'm a big advocate for like getting out and going like hiking, trekking, getting out into nature. I love that. Really good, clears it. You feel like you're away from work, you're away from stresses, and you also feel like you're accomplishing stuff. So even though I am the last person you'll ever find like running.
Oh, I think I'm on board with you on that one.
I'm not on that one.
No.
But I completely get how that kind of physical exertion and that exercise gives someone a sense of like achievement, and it really pumps you up and it makes you feel better about yourself, releases those endorphins, right?
Definitely.
So I understand that. So the theme this year, moving for your mental health. This year, the Mental Health Awareness Week wants to get everyone to move in their own way and find something that helps move your body and your mind. So that is the theme that's being covered this year. If you go onto the mentalhealth.uk.org website, it does give you a bit more information. Like their research shows that 56% of people found that exercising regularly helped them alleviate stress, prevent burnout in their lives, which is really important.
Yeah, links well to last week.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought talking about what we've learned during Mental Health Awareness Week is really important, and maybe we can reflect on how businesses can take those learnings away and apply them into the workplace.
Yeah, definitely.
And no better way to do that, Alice, than actually with a bit of fresh MHR content I thought we could talk about.
Brilliant.
We've done this week is launched. It'll be on for quite a while, for a number of months anyway. We've launched our mental health campaign here at MHR, and it's really good actually. If you go into our Knowledge Hub on our website, you'll find some fresh blogs and some downloads that are readily available for people to talk about how best to look at burnout in the workplace, how to manage stress, and there is a new mental health guide that we've released in honour of this week. And I thought we could look at some of the main key observations in that and reflect on what we think businesses can learn to support mental health, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I can imagine there'll be common themes, like I say, talking about burnout and stress, but it's always the question of, well, that's the matter of fact, but what can we do about it? What can workplaces be doing about it? Yeah,
I think what people don't want to keep hearing, because you can hear it from anywhere, is, let's talk about how stress is affecting people, and so and that is, mental health is a problem, and there's a lot of stats about it. Obviously, we know that it is important, but it's about what you can do, right? Yeah. Let's actually look at what we can take away from it, all right? The main focus, kind of the headline message that we talk about here, is actually creating a more empathetic workplace, which is vital, right?
Very much so.
It's been spread loud and clear that happy, healthy workforces are more successful businesses, and industry leaders are waking up to the fact that they can't ignore mental health any longer. But it's a complex issue, right? And a lot of people don't know how to discuss it, or worried that they're discussing it in the wrong way. It might damage their reputation, but actually silence is worse than nothing. Right? It's better to be having a conversation about it. So what we go on to talk about really is what we need to know about mental health health in the workplace, and some practical advice designed to create a more supportive and healthy environment. And I think that's about being empathetic.
Yeah.
How do we do that? How do we deal with empathy? How do we create that? By understanding each other, by communicating and sharing that experience.
Yeah.
So is mental health really a business issue? Yes.
100%.
It's vital, because where there are people who need to be considered in all form of mental states and needs and requirements. And if you're not doing that, then you're not supporting your people. You're not going to get productivity. Your business isn't going to work.
Exactly.
Right?
And if you think how many hours in the week you spend at work as well, it's almost split isn't it, between your private life, and that's something you can control. And then if you've got your workplace, in some ways, if you're controlling it less, you need someone that can champion that empathetic workplace, something that feels secure, safe enough that you're supported. So I would say 100% it is a business issue.
And if you're not like me and likes to talk about all the human philosophical side of things, if you want the stats to back that up, well, actually 72 million working days are lost, which a year. Because of mental health issues, and 34.9 billion each year is lost to businesses due to mental health issues. So you can't just ignore it, going, "Oh, I don't care about how people feel." You will care when you realise that your productivity is going down, and you're losing money. That's not what a business wants to do.
It'll end up on a financial impact, and that is a full circle moment, isn't it?
And every year it costs business about £1,300 per employee for mental health needs that are unsupported. So maybe it's cheaper to actually support those. If you're worried about cost of investing in your people, there is a business case there to do that.
It's probably all the hidden costs. I think we talk quite obviously about kind of, for example, return to work is quite costly, or retention, a costly matter. But actually, what are the little costs that are quite covered? Probably mental health is one of the biggest.
And there's lots businesses can do anyway. I mean, I think we might talk about it in a bit, but like we talk about like an employee support program, which is doesn't cost the employee anything, but it's accessible to the employee as part of their standard benefits package, where at any point they can go out confidentially to one of our mental health first aiders, but also they can access an approved professional network who will help you and support you and give you confidential advice. That's brilliant to have that. It's not something I knew existed when I worked in places before I worked here. And I think it's probably expected now.
I would say it is,
but that shows the shift towards people knowing that that's important.
Definitely. And I think that's a shift for HR professionals as well, where their roles gone from kind of a business function to actually a variety of different roles, and roles that they need to develop in as well. It's not just something that you can straight up say, "Oh, I'm brilliant at being a mental health supporter or aider." It's going to take a lot of training and a lot of development as well, because those conversations, they're not always the easiest either. So it really shows the shift in dynamics for those HR professionals.
And I think as we've invested more in people, we've learned more about how that can support us all as a business. So addressing well-being at work increases productivity by 12%, our research shows.
12%.
That's a significant increase, I would say, and a worthwhile investment into people's well-being.
Definitely. So there must be methods then of how you can increase well-being.
Well, funny you should say that. So how can we bring about change or enable and support mental health and well-being in the workplace? Well, we've got a bit of a guide that you can do it. Some headlines are check-ins are vital.
Oh, yes.
How do you enable check-ins? How do you regulate them? We talk about it a lot with our kind of people first and our social kind of HR platform, but it's about making sure that you're doing them structured, but in a way that suits the culture of your business. So you're getting across why you work the way you do and how you do, and then that employee feels like they're part of that team and part of that culture. So that's vital.
Definitely.
It's also, check-ins are also vital to kind of understand that person's relationship in their world of work, right, and how they work as part of that team. So we have a check-ins guide. You can find that on our website anyway. So check-ins are a great way of giving yourself a good employee experience backbone that allows you to go, if in doubt, follow this process. Let's start to get to good.
And you're not assuming, are you, that everyone's okay and getting along with their role absolutely fine. So those check-ins are a reality check.
Empathy, we've talked about briefly,
Yeah.
but employing empathy into your narrative as a manager, but as a team, is vital. So, we also understand that work affects lots of people in lots of different ways, and there's lots of things going on with people that we don't know about that they may not want to bring into the world of work, but also will affect their world of work in ways that we can't see. We don't know what we don't know, and we shouldn't make assumptions about people's health either.
Yeah.
So what one person might find really stressful at work, some person might do with ease.
Yeah.
But equally, we need to start considering, what else is going on with people, where if they're finding something that we don't understand is stressful to be stressful, there's something we need to do to hold a conversation, to encourage empathy and allow that person to ask for the support they feel like they need.
Yeah, exactly. I think one thing that's mentioned in our guide here is the idea that one size doesn't fit all.
Yeah.
For organisations. So
Yeah.
it's having that awareness, like you say, of people in different roles where they
Yeah.
might have different levels of stress,
Yeah.
and they were going to react differently.
Yeah.
It's taking the open-minded approach of, okay, you need to look on an individual basis.
Yeah.
Like say, use check-ins as a little marker, or
Yeah.
use team meetings, or having those little pinpoints where you can build up a more empathetic workplace.
Being regular meetings, regular manager-employee discussions will uncover factors that you'll learn more about people, you understand their perspective or context on things. That's going to really help them feel supported and seen as well.
Yes, yeah.
Another topic we talk about loads. Now, we've done a few blogs about this recently, and there are a few guides and things that you can check in on our website, and it's a big topic, and everyone talks about it, but it is burnout. And I think we did a podcast on it a few weeks ago as well, right?
We have indeed.
But it's the biggest factor, one of the biggest factors into poor mental health in the workplace. It's increased to the point where the World Health Organization has officially recognized it as an occupational phenomenon, and it was included in the 11th revision of the International Classification of Diseases.
Wow,
Burnout is real. It's
it is happening. Yeah,
and it's happening, and we need to be better at resolving it or preventing it. I think is the thing.
Yeah.
So managers and business leaders are responsible for preventing this. Again, it's about having those conversations. If you're trying to resolve burnout, maybe it's too late.
Yeah.
You do that by actually stopping it in the first place.
Yeah.
Right.
It's being proactive about it. Like I say, the steps that clearly indicate that you can be proactive, and it shouldn't get to the point of burnout. I think that's the thing. Businesses should not be experiencing burnout. If you are, then obviously you're not operating efficiently.
Yep. So managing workloads to make sure they're reasonable, making deadlines realistic, and targets that are achievable. Now, that might sound like standard stuff, and it's like, well, these aren't steps.
Easier said than to do, isn't it?
But if you understand that those are things, how are you going to formulate that? For example, we've just talked about check-ins. Do you have a HR process in place that easily and quickly communicates to your employee what those deadlines, what those timelines are, and what those targets are, and how can they be done in a way that actually supports that person stay on track and stay focused?
Yeah.
When we talk about that with people first, but if you're doing a manual process, or if that's how if your HR check-in or development process is manual by meetings and notes and handwritten or on whatever, and it's not trackable, you're immediately not enabling that employee to take action on that. And you're having to rely on their own manual perception of the conversation, which could be perceived completely different. Getting it logged on a platform that supports that HR process protects you and the employee to make sure that you're on the same level of understanding and that they're enabled to do the job that you want required doing.
And you picked up on a bit of a point there, which is kind of that subjective, you kind of take it as it comes. But if you put technology into the equation, for example, AI, like sentiment analysis that I know we've built in People First, it can take what's written in those check-ins and actually taking the people out of the equation and, their thoughts and feelings, it can indicate actually how that's coming across. So whether it is positive, whether it's quite neutral, or if it's negative. And I think leveraging on technologies like that, where it can kind of take you quite objective, it can benefit the business as well, because it will state almost the evidence and the facts of, right, 10% of your check-ins are actually quite negative. Has there been a shift in the workforce? Has something happened?
And then suddenly you're creating data, right, that you can start tracking, where you're going, actually, we're seeing trends now change, which makes us think we can act on something now, that we know we need to offer some more support or hold a conversation a different way because we've logged this better. This isn't just on the back of my notebook, see you next month and we'll see how you're doing.
Exactly.
This is actually, no, we're really supporting you now. We're creating a narrative of your performance which helps you.
Yeah. But ultimately, I think what the guide kind of refers back to is the fact that management is about people.
Yeah.
So you have to have a human element
Yeah.
to all of this. I think mental health, it's, I think no matter how much you say technology can benefit, actually, it's human to human.
Yeah.
We all can be empathetic to each other.
Yeah.
So for managers, you do have a really great influence over your team members, and I think that's something that can't be forgotten. Yes, HR have an important role as well, but it's the managers that they do need to be taking that responsibility and owning the fact that they want to be a leader, that they want to keep an open mind for their team. And it says here actually that apparently 91% of managers agree that what they do affects the well-being of their staff. So it really shows that the vast majority of managers do recognise the influence they have over the team.
Yeah, 100%. So what are the headlines of what we can do? So I've got 4 quick kind of titles here. 1, surveys.
Quick and easy.
Quick and easy, right?
Yeah.
But are you actually surveying your employees to figure out how they're feeling? And if you're like, well, they won't answer it, well, then fine. If you do it and you realise they're not answering, there's something to work on there.
Yeah,
like work on the delta, right? Are they going to be honest? Well, you won't know until you get the results. So you've got to survey them in the first place. So surveying is vital. If you can't carry out a survey, then you'll have to well, if you do carry out a survey, you have to act on the results. So make sure you do it with intent and you know where you want to go and how you want to help people.
Share the results. We talked about communication right at the beginning of the podcast, and I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. Openness to talk. But if you're collecting a survey, if the results are bad, share it, because it just means that there's things that need to be done. And I think having that awareness as well, people aren't going to back away. They're actually going to think, okay, I wonder why they're sharing these results.
And people want to be heard. Right?
Yeah,
now,
definitely.
if people feel that way and they're putting that feedback in, they're not going to be alarmed if you publish it, because they're like, yeah, that was my opinion. But they're like, okay, well, at least I'm being listened to.
Yeah.
That's important.
And definitely.
Yeah. Second point.
Yeah.
Mental health first aiders. This is brilliant. I really like this. I like the concept of it. It's recognising that your mental health is just as important as your physical health, which is why we have first aiders to look after you in a crisis, and they should be on both fronts. So you wouldn't ask your manager to fix a broken arm, and so why would you ask them if you're under immediate stress? Now you can, but why wouldn't you go to someone who can give you a bit of confidential mental space and have a meaningful conversation with someone in a place where you don't feel you're going to be judged? Because if you are feeling vulnerable, or if you're feeling like you need support, sometimes people would deter away from talking to their manager because they don't want to feel judged, or it's based on their performance.
No, that
which
can be
is
true.
a natural feeling.
Definitely.
It shouldn't be the case, but maybe that is a very natural feeling. So having a person in the organisation that you can go to that is an unbiased person in a confidential role to go, you can have a talk to me anytime, it doesn't go any further than our conversation, is a really vital thing to do.
Indeed.
Point 3, encourage open and honesty. How do you do that? You've got to do it for your management, right? You've got to provide a positive culture, an encouraging culture that welcomes openness and honesty in the workplace. The best way to do that, we've said it before, regular check-ins, regular conversation, clear setting of expectations, the deadlines and workload based on what we know is achievable, clear communication, as you've already said.
Yeah, definitely. Right? And to build that culture, you need champions for it as well. So you can have a champion for mental health, you can have a champion for check-ins, a champion to say, actually, we have this resource. You need people shouting about it and spreading that awareness. And that's a continuous thing. It doesn't stop.
No. And the last point is offering independent support. And we mentioned that a bit earlier on, isn't it, right? Like independent support, part of a benefits package, and mental health services can be expensive. With NHS provisions having long waiting lists, you can give your people access to a range of professional services as part of their role with your organisation, from counselling to advice around financial management. Because as we talked about, financial well-being is a huge factor towards stress when it's not in control or employees don't feel supported. So a confidential nature of like independent services makes sure that the employee feels like they're kind of one step away from the organisation, so they feel a bit more protected or private with something that they may feel is very personal to them. So it's a really helpful thing to have.
So there's just a couple of strategies, I guess, of how you can approach mental health at work and encourage what we kind of went back right at the beginning, which is an empathetic workplace. So this whole week has been about mental health awareness. Yeah. Is there anything that you feel like you've learnt this week, Andy?
I've actually learnt to slow down a bit. Not like my output at work. But I think I slow down into how I want to react with stuff and actually take a bit more of a moment and a breath to go, okay, if this is stressing me out, stop for a second. Why? Because I find that if you're under pressure, or if you're stressed, or you feel like your mental health isn't great, the sooner you react without thinking or processing how and why you're feeling the way you do, the sooner you lead yourself into a spiral of probably making things worse.
Yeah.
If you're not at your best, if you're not in like a really good flow state, if you're not really feeling it, and you're just under pressure and you're responding and reacting, sometimes you're not actually helping yourself.
Yeah.
So forcing a break or a pause or a bit of reflection before you proceed is a really helpful thing to do.
It's a hard thing, though, to tell yourself to stop. When you feel like you've got a lot on, I can relate to that feeling of like, I just want to get on with it.
Yeah.
But actually, you're being less productive, aren't you, than if you took that moment, or like say, go out for a walk.
It goes against your basic instincts. If you're under pressure and you're feeling scared or vulnerable, you're going to fight or flight.
Yeah.
Fight is kick back immediately. Flight is run away from the problem and do something else. But neither of those things help. What you need to do is pause and go, okay, listen to both sides, understand why I'm feeling the way I'm doing, what would be the better response against my better judgment, now react.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you?
I think it's been quite interesting, actually, seeing how people approach this week and the different businesses. I think I took it kind of as a see what goes on sort of approach and what campaigns, I guess, were about. But what's always interesting is with the theme every year, kind of obviously this one being movement. I don't know if you agree with me, but as you become an adult, movement's kind of less involved in all kind of, at primary school you had your PE lessons, and then at university you had to join a sports team to kind of go out partying. But when you get to the workplace, a lot of companies probably talk about being quite social and having maybe like a football club or something. But actually, it's been quite interesting to see what companies are doing elsewhere. So like run clubs are now quite a big thing. I know that walking can be quite a big thing, but it's been interesting to see actually what people have been posting about. And a lot of it actually comes down to little simple things like taking their dog on a walk.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that. I've got a little dog at home. But yeah, I think my biggest learning, similar to you, but it's more just taking time, making sure that I take that 15 minutes on my lunch to go for a walk. Yeah. I've really tried this week every day just to get out 15 minutes, just walk around the block. But it's something that I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely been a real big engagement, I think, this year on the theme of movement. So it's definitely a good topic that they've picked up on.
Nice. I agree. Brilliant. I think we've covered it nicely. I mean, obviously, we've only skimmed the very top of what we've been talking about. If you want to find out more about how we're talking about mental health awareness, what we're doing to support that week, just go onto the MHR Global website.
There's a lot.
There is a lot. I mean, you should find that the page is straight there as you go in. We'll be talking about it. But also, if you go to our Knowledge Hub on our website, there is a load of assets. I mean, I'm just going to reel out a couple to you here. We've got how to fix burnout at work. We've got the mental health guide, which we've talked about already. We've got talk about what causes employee burnout. All of this is resource that is ready available that you can just get and access now on our website. So please have a look. If you want to find out more about what other people are saying about Mental Health Awareness Week, well, there's the World Federation for Mental Health, which is wfmh.global. There's the Centre for Global Mental Health. There is acas.org. There's St John's Ambulance, and there's Mind. These are all referenced on our guide as well if you want further information about the work that they do and how they can support employees. So, putting your people first is vital. I think we've recognised that and definitely learned a lot this week.
Definitely. Lovely.
Cool. All right, then. Well, join us next week and we'll talk about something else, but hopefully it'll be just as interesting.
I think so.
Brilliant. All right. I'll see you later.
See you soon. Bye-bye.